Good morning, YouTube. I am Bearded Ink, and today we're going to cover the patch notes for the newest releases of the update for 30.2 in OBS Studio. Now, if you recall on my last video, cue the little bubble up top, we talked about the 30.2.0 release and that it was not recommended that we update. There were a lot of problems, a lot of issues, and a lot of things were going into the mix in that. It wasn't just the OBS update. So today we're going to cover the patch notes for the new release 30.2.1. For 30.2.2. For 30.2.3, yes, they have released 3 patches since the release early last month for 30.2. 2 of them came in the same day. So we are going to look at the newest release. We're going to cover all of the release notes and what they supposedly fixed in the OBS versions for those 3 releases. We're going to tell you who should upgrade and who should not. And if you are in the group that should upgrade, we're going to tell you how to go about doing that safely. We're also going to cover all of the PC specs and things that you must have in order to run this version successfully. And we're also going to show you how to make a backup of your current installation of OBS, regardless of what version it is. So that way you can test the new one safely without having to worry about losing everything or downgrading later if you decide it's not working for you, without having any issues from that, because there have been issues going from 30.2 back to like a 30.1 or even back to 29.1.2. So we're going to cover all the best practices for those in that order. So stick around. It's going to be a good show. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible, but we do have a lot of information to cover. So let's just get right into it. Okay. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover the changes that were made in these patches, or what OBS calls a hotfix. This is the minor version release number. So if you remember, 30 is the version number. The first number 0.2 is the large update or patch version, and then the last number is of course the minor version or the patched version, or in this case the hot fix. Everybody kind of calls them something different, but we're working with version 30, part 2 of version 30, and then of course the hot fix or patch number 3 is the current one. But we did have a hotfix that came out for 30.2 called 30.2.1. And there were quite a bit of changes. Now, before we go into the changes, I do want to kind of cover what was most reported as the problems with 30.2 from you, my community and viewers here on YouTube, as well as Twitch, and of course in my Discord, and then doing research online for this particular video, what we were coming across. So I made notes here. We have the most common problems was OBS was just crashing, whether it crashed when you started it up, when you started to stream or record, or when you opened your game. If OBS was open first, there were times when people would upgrade from 30.1 to the 30.2, and then OBS just would refuse to open until they did it like 5 or 6 times. If you were able to get OBS open without much problems and were deciding to stream, specifically streaming to Twitch, you would notice that you had a much lower KBS. You were buffering a lot. You might have been lagging or stuttering, or your streams would just simply disconnect. There were reports of the preview. So in OBS, if you do the preview mode, the previews would freeze or lock up. Specifically, game scenes and webcam sources would freeze up or lock up. The camera sources, especially for things in the virtual camera realm. So if you were like using WebSockets to use virtual webcam in your OBS, that would just simply disconnect. And of course, the WebSockets issues, WebSockets would not connect at all. It would remove like the password, or it would just simply not be enabled, and you couldn't get it to be enabled. There were severe crashes in OBS when you were trying to stream using the RTMP. So those of you that are streaming to YouTube and things like that. And then if you had active outputs, so some of your outputs like your audio and things like that, if those connections were still open, which most of them are, when you go to close OBS, even after you click stop streaming or stop recording, those obviously, they stay active. That's why, like, you can see the meter on your microphone going up and down when you talk, even though you aren't streaming or aren't recording, just because OBS is open. Having those connections still open and then trying to close OBS would cause it to crash or lock up. The custom CSS, when you add a new, like a browser source, you would notice, it has that custom CSS. If you made any changes to that at all, especially just deleting all of it, and you were streaming to YouTube, it would cause a lot of issues with your browser sources. Some of them wouldn't function at all. Some of them would like automatically resize or be the wrong colors. So there was some custom CSS issues that were causing problems on YouTube. And then they have their new, one of the newest features with 30.2 was their hybrid MP4. We talked a little about that in the first video I did that covered the 30.2 update. Those were causing a lot of lockup freezing problems, if those of you that were using that. So we're going to look now, we're going to look at the hot fixes for these different versions and see if any of those got addressed or fixed. So first thing we noticed is that 30.2 was released on the 12th of July. And on the 12th of July, a lot of streamers, especially those on Twitch and those of you with Nvidia graphics cards, were getting a lot of problems, right? And that's what prompted my video on that earlier. So we look here, we're going to go from the bottom to the top because we're just going up. These bottom three that were identified by War Champ, and I'll zoom in for you here. These bottom three, adjust the resize of the classic audio meter, fix source tree icon spacing, and the read-only Q text edit background color. These are all theme related. So for the themes, they use what's called QSS. It's similar to CSS, and they use the Q text and all of this. It's just what they build their themes on, or what they allow you to do a custom theme with. And it's basically, let's just keep it simple. It's like a programming language like CSS, okay? But those bottom three are just fixes that they made to some of the visual elements from the theme. They also made a change where they fixed an issue when attempting to run OBS with OpenGL renderer on Windows, and it would fail. OBS would fail. Now, for those of you that don't know, OpenGL is not a Windows compatible rendering engine. It is not made for Windows, and it will not work with Windows. Windows uses DirectX or Direct3D, and not OpenGL. So that's going to be like your Linux installs and stuff like that will use that. But in your settings, if you had that set to OpenGL, either on purpose or on accident, it would crash OBS. So they fixed that crash. So you can select OpenGL without having OBS crash. It still is not recommended though. If you're on Windows, use the Direct3D version 11, and that'll solve all of your problems. Okay, so they also fixed an issue that caused the legacy AMF. This is the encoders for AMD graphics drivers. The AMF encoder didn't show up in the list, in the drop-down list. And a lot of you that with the AMD cards were left with the X286 version, or the CPU encoder version. And so they fixed that. So the AMF encoders are there now again. They have also fixed an issue with the WebSockets. So here's your settings not saving, and then the virtual camera correcting. So those have been fixed with the version 0.1. They made some ACC timestamps that were causing your stream to fail. This is from your core audio. So a lot of that with the hybrid MP4, the audio codecs for that have been fixed, and they fixed a possible crash when loading scene data. So when you switch into scenes and all of those things were getting loaded in, especially when you first started OBS, some of that would cause a crash, and they have apparently fixed those in 0.1. Now, 0.1 came out about a week after 30.2. They did these hot fixes, and then it was like 10 hours later, they released version 30.2.2. And this only had one fix, and it fixed an issue that people were reporting after they updated to 30.2.1. Every time they opened OBS, they would get a prompt to update to the new version 30.2.1. So even after they updated, they were still getting prompted to update. And so that's the only fix that 30.2.2 fixed. There were no other issues. Now we dealt with 30.2.2 for a few weeks, and then 30.2.3 came out, where they have fixed a memory leak with your volume sliders. So this would also help with some of the OBS crashes, especially those crashing while your output devices were still open. We talked about that earlier. The memory leak would just cause OBS to keep opening different pages. And that if you looked in your task manager, you would see the OBS page or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Forgive me for not remembering off the top of my head, but it's not just the OBS exe. It's something else entirely, but it has the OBS name in it. And you would look at your taskbar and you would see like 30 of these. So that memory leak got patched. They also addressed the internet connection, the IP connections for your addresses, IPv4 and the IPv6 address. So when you have that drop down, and we did cover those in the OBS setup, the settings for those you were supposed to leave where they're both connected. If you did that, this makes those connection selections a little bit stricter. They fixed a browser source custom CSS injection for sites with required trusted types for CSP. So this is all of you YouTube people and that CSS problem that I was talking about for your browser sources and whatnot. This fixes that as well. The RTMP disconnect and timeout on Windows systems without IPv6 connectivity. Now, if you don't know what IPv6 connectivity is, you probably don't use it. You couldn't basically do a dual stream. The dual stack RTMP servers would like crash on you, which would cause OBS to lock up. They fixed the crash when connecting to an RTMP server. So YouTube folks, TikTok, Facebook Live uses RTMP. Even even Twitch, if you connected through your stream key instead of the direct connect, would use an RTMP, and this could cause OBS to crash. And then they fixed the deadlocks with closing OBS while outputs are active, which we talked about earlier, and when using the new hybrid MP4. So a lot of these fixes are things that we have addressed earlier in the list of problems that most people were reporting. Now, not all of them have been addressed, but some of them might have been fixed, in the smaller changes, such as like when you're buffering or the lower KBS when streaming, especially to Twitch, or your preview freezes. So the rest of these on this list, for the most part, have been at least addressed, and there is some kind of fix in place. So let's talk now about who should and should not update to the latest version, 30.2.3. If you are one of the few that are on 30.2, any version, 30.2.0, 0.1, or 0.2, you should upgrade to 30.2.3 as soon as possible. Like right after you finish watching this video all the way through to the very end. You want to go ahead and next time you open up OBS, go ahead and do that update. If you are like me and you have refrained from moving to 30.2 and you are still on 30.1.2, or if you're even on like 29 still, the 30.2.3 version seems very, very promising, But before you make that jump, we need to check a few things on our PC first. One thing we're going to look at is our version of Windows that we're using. We're also going to look at our available memory, and we're going to look at our graphics cards. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Let me just minimize this guy down so we can look at now. If you're on the Windows, what we're going to do is we're going to come down to the Start button, and we're going to right click on the Start button. This is going to bring up the context menu here, as you can see. And then we're going to come down to System. Let me go ahead and zoom in real quick. So you have all of your options here. We're going to click on System, okay? And then that's going to bring up this window where it talks to you about your computer, and it'll have some specifications that we want to look at. Now, the first thing you want to look at is the installed RAM. This will tell you how much RAM you have in your computer. If you have 16 gigabytes or more, let me let this airplane go ahead and do its thing. If you have 16 gigabytes or more of RAM, you are good to go for 30.2.3. But what we want to look down here is the edition and the version down here on Windows. Let me zoom in a little bit to here for you. See what I'm looking at. All right, so under the Windows specification heading, you're going to see the edition, which is I am currently using Windows 11 Home, and the version number 23H2. Okay, so what we were looking for is if you're on Windows 11, either Home or Pro, that is preferred, and then you need to have at least version 23H2 for Windows 11. If you're on Windows 10, it should be version 22H2. Okay, and that was the last version of Windows 10 that they're going to release because it is coming to end of life. So if you are still on 21H2 for Windows 10, or if you're on 22H2 for Windows 11, you need to upgrade those versions to 22H2 and the 23H2 respectively before you ever try to update to OBS 30.2.3. I know it's a lot of numbers. Bear with me. I hope you're following along. As long as you have 16 gigabytes of RAM and you're on the current latest versions of Windows 11 or Windows 10, everything that's in version 30.2 will work just fine for you. If you're not on those versions, you're going to have some audio issues. You might have some hardware acceleration issues. And I suggest that either you upgrade if you can, or if you're in the part where you don't have enough RAM, like if you're still running 8 gigabytes of RAM or less than that, then you want to stay on the older versions of OBS, such as 30.1. If you're close to those specs, or even 29, if you are lower, like on the 8 gigabyte range. And then wait until you can upgrade your machine, because some of these new features do require a lot more processing and memory power that your machine might not have at the moment. And until it does, you want to make sure that you are getting the most out of what you have, right? So if there's no problem staying on any of the older versions, they still work. Like currently, again, I'm using 30.1 right now to record this. I also still stream from 30.1 as well as 29.1.2 or 0.3. I can't remember which one it was. So they still work just fine depending on what your needs are. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at now before we decide to upgrade is the graphics cards. Now, so one of the things that they told us for the Nvidia users is that we will need to update our GPU drivers to 53.61 on Windows or 530.41.03 on Linux. Now, if you're not on these versions for your Nvidia, you need to update. And not just for OBS, you need to update for your GPU's sake. Version 531.61 was released. Let me follow my mouse again. Was released on April 13th of 2023. All right, so it's been almost a year and a half. And remember, Nvidia releases a new driver every month. So you are quite a few versions back. Okay. So you should update anyway because of a lot of bug fixes, a lot of patches. Now, GeForce or Nvidia as a whole released 2 new updates, one to their game ready driver and one to their studio driver, right at the same time that OBS 30.2 came out. And that caused a lot of conflict because OBS was working with the prior version of the Nvidia drivers and making sure all of that worked. And then Nvidia went and threw a whole monkey wrench into the works. And that was part of the problem, was some of the graphics elements that weren't working, and we were all blaming OBS, but it was actually the new update. So if you have your Nvidia drivers set to auto update, like with the GeForce suite, the little program, I've uninstalled mine because I don't like it, then you had that update at the same time, and that could have been part of your issue. So make sure that you update again. There's been a new one, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, so we're going to come to the Nvidia driver download page. That's going to look like this, and of course this link and all links that we talk about in this video will be in the description below, so make sure you read through that. With the drivers for Nvidia, so if you have an Nvidia graphics card, you can get just the drivers. You don't have to worry about doing that whole GeForce ready thing. And this is what you're going to do. So you're going to come to this page and you're going to look for your driver manually. So you're going to select the product, which is going to be your Nvidia RTX Quadro or GeForce, which is most likely. And then you're going to come in and you're going to pick what style you have. So for example, I have the 3080. So you're going to come in here and then you're going to pick 3080 from the list. And then your version of Windows. I'm running Windows 11 as we saw earlier, and I want mine in English. And then you click on the find button, and then it's going to take you to that driver download page. So it's going to take you to this page. So now you have your option. You can either have the studio driver or the game ready driver. If you don't know the difference, there really isn't much of one as far as what the GPU will do. Now there is, don't let me, persuade you in any way, but as far as like the layman is concerned, what the drivers do doesn't really affect you that much. I've run both side by side as a test, and there really isn't a difference as far as like your gaming quality and stuff like that. Now the game ready drivers do have priority for like special games, the big game, like when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, when Cyberpunk 2077 came out, they released a driver specifically for those games that have special features such as the DLSS and frame rate supports and stuff like that for those games. So if you are a big gamer, then you want to go ahead and get the game ready driver just so that you're always up to date with the latest stuff that it can do, especially with the Unreal 5 engine and how much it devours graphics. But otherwise, if you just want the lighter driver that doesn't do as much and isn't updated quite as often, then you want to go ahead and get the studio driver. But the game ready driver will be updated a minimum of once a month, sometimes 2. The studio driver may go as far out as like 2 months before they get an update. So either one, what you want to do once you pick it, you're going to click on view here. And then here is your driver download. It'll tell you, see where this is, current version is 560.81. And this came out on August 6th. And then you're just going to download that. It's going to give you a little exe file, which you can put somewhere, wherever you want to put it. We're going to go ahead and put ours on our desktop. And then once it's done, you're going to have the little exe there. You're just going to double click and then follow through with your normal installation setup wizards as you have come to know and love by now. Click OK, default, blah, 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 right? It'll take a couple seconds. Things will flash. In some cases, your PC may need to reset. Just let it go through the reboot process. And when you come back, you'll have a brand new driver. And that's it. for the Nvidia. Again, I will have all of these links for you in the description below, so you can just click on them. You don't have to go find them yourself. Now, one of the things that wasn't covered in the 30.2 crash reports and all that was the AMD graphics cards. And you see, even on the release notes, it tells the Nvidia users to upgrade their drivers, but there's nothing about the AMD drivers. Now, what I have found out though is that the AMD uses the Adrenaline software, kind of like Nvidia has the GeForce, right? And the AMF encoders in OBS were having problems. And this goes back all the way even to 30.1.2, where the Adrenaline software from AMD was having buffering and lagging and stuttering, depending on what frame rate you set and the B frames that you set. And the current workarounds were to like go into your Adrenaline software and change all of these settings manually, which should never have to be touched, just to get your stream webcam or your game to look smooth. And it was a big hassle, and a lot of people were downgrading back to an earlier version of OBS, or having to downgrade their AMD versions. So if you were on an older version of the AMD software, you want to upgrade that now. Those problems have been fixed by AMD, and they are currently in the Adrenaline. The AMF hardware encoder is in the Adrenaline drivers for versions 24.4.1. And again, that is here. I'm going to put a link directly to this download page. Now, there is a newer version of the software. I believe it is 24.7. Don't quote me on that, though, because I don't use AMD graphics cards. It's just, I don't have one. You're going to come to this page and get the minimum at least 24.4.1. And when you do the install, it will tell you if you have a newer version installed, if you don't know. But this is the minimum version that has those fixes in it for you. So you're just going to come down here. It's the same thing. There's the package contents header right here. And then there are two links. You are most likely going to click the top one, the AMD software Adrenaline Edition 2.4.1 driver for Windows 10 and Windows 11. If you happen to know you're pairing RDNA series graphics products with Polaris or Vega series graphics products, if you have more than one graphics issue going on in your PC, and for those of you that didn't build your own PC, you probably don't have to worry about that, right? So we're going to go with the first one. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to give you a little exe. We can download that. Go ahead and get that on your desktop. And then once you have the install, you can delete the exe. So here it is again, same thing with this one. You're going to click on yes, and it's going to start the installation. It's going to ask you, hey, are you sure you want to install this? Where do you want to install this? Blah, 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 right? This all look familiar for the AMD people. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this because I don't have AMD software on I do have AMD chipset, but I don't have AMD graphics. All right. So now that we have the current graphics drivers, we have the right amount of RAM, and we're running the right version of Windows. If you meet all of those requirements, go ahead and update to 30.2.3. Now there's going to be a way to do this without losing anything or risking anything on your system currently, and I'm going to show you how to do that. There's two ways. There's two ways. Okay, the first way is just to run everything in portable mode, but the better way is just to use it like it's been there all along. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to ignore the portable mode because we don't want to have to reinstall all of our plugins and things like that, right? We just want to be able to go. So first thing we need to do is to grab two folder files, rename them, and then we're going to do the update. And I'll show you how to do that technically without doing it, because again, I'm using my version of OBS, but I can still show you. So the first thing we want to do is we want to hit the Windows key and the letter R key on our keyboard. So Windows R, and it's going to bring up the little run box, and you're going to type in app data, and it's going to open up your app data folder. You may come here. Okay, let me zoom in. All right. So you may come here. We're in the app data folder, and you want to go into roaming. And then when we go to roaming, we're going to scroll down alphabetically and look for OBS Studio. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to right click on this, and we're going to copy. And then we're going to come to our desktop somewhere blank, and we're going to do paste. Okay. And then as you can see, it's going to take a minute. There's a lot of files in here. And then once it's done, we have a folder named OBS Studio on our desktop, but we need to rename this folder. And I'll show you why in just a second. Just trust me for right now. So we're going to come in here and we're going to click on the rename or hit F2, and we're going to go right to the end. Just hit the right arrow to bring the cursor all the way to the end. So we're going to leave OBS Studio, and then we're just going to type in AD, capital AD for app data. And that's where we know where this folder came from. Okay, now we're going to come back to our file folder, our file directory, and we're going to click on the C drive. We're going to go to program files, and then once again, we're going to scroll down, and we're going to find OBS Studio again. Now remember, it's exactly the same as the other one was, which is why we renamed it, so we don't overwrite anything. So now again, we're going to right click on this. We're going to choose copy. We're going to come back to our desktop, and we're going to choose paste. And then once again, it's going to take a couple seconds. And then once that's done, we have our AD, and then we have this one up here. Let's go ahead and bring them so they're together. And then we're going to go ahead and rename this one too, just to be thorough. So we're going to rename this one. Again, right arrow over to the end, and we're going to name this one PF for program files. Now you're saying, Bearded, I went to program files and I didn't find the OBS Studio folder. It's just not there. All right, don't panic. It's okay. 90% of you will have a default install of OBS into program files, and that is where the OBS Studio folder will be. Okay. The other 10% of you will either have it default install to program files x86, or you have done a manual install somewhere else, and that somewhere else is where you need to go. But that's only like 1% of you. And if you know that, then you know where you've installed OBS and you know what folder you need to go to. The other 9% of the ones that aren't in program files, you're going to find your OBS Studio in program files x86. Same thing, go in there, scroll down, find OBS Studio, copy, rename. Okay. So basically what we've done, we've taken the two places that OBS stores our themes, our profiles, and all of our settings for our current version, and we've made copies of them. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go into, you're going to open OBS. And so let me go ahead and I'm going to open up my tutorial one, because I know that is an older version. It's also running not locally. I'm running this one in portable mode, so it's not a full install, but the idea is the same. Okay. So what I'm going to do is you're going to come in and you're going to open up OBS just like you normally would. Okay. So ignore that I'm going to a directory. All right. Now we're in OBS, and you may get the pop-up that says there's a new version of OBS. Do you want to upgrade? If you don't have that, like I didn't get it here, all you have to do is go up here to help and then check for updates. And then you're going to get the pop-up, and it says OBS Studio 30.2.3, and you can update now. And when you click this box, it's going to go through an update process, and then it'll say it needs to restart OBS. It'll shut down OBS, and then it'll reopen, and you'll be on the new version. Now, because I'm running this in portable mode, right here, there is no install. So these folders that we created, I don't have for this one. So this is that portable mode. This is the way I was telling you. And if you want to do it this way, or if you're currently running in portable mode, all you have to do is go to the website, go to download, and we're going to download the zip file instead of the installer. So we're going to get the zip file. We're going to save that to our hard drive. Okay, here it is. We're going to go ahead and unzip that. And this is going to take a minute as well. And then when it's done, you're going to open that directory, and you're going to see that there are the three main folders: the OBS plugins, data, and bin, just like they have in here. So we're going to copy these three. Let me follow the fucking mouse again. We're gonna take these three, and we're just going to bring them right over and overwrite. And it's going to ask you if, hey, do you want to overwrite existing files? If you want to skip them, or let you decide, just replace the files in the destination. Okay, don't worry about it, because remember, we made our backups over here. These are not being touched, so we're good. Now, once that's done, we can go in and we can reopen OBS again after the update is done. And then now you can see up in the top corner, we are now running version 30.2.3. Okay, so let's say, for example, that you've run 30.2.3 and something is still not right for you. You don't like a feature it has, or something is still breaking or crashing or locking up for you that hasn't been addressed in the previous hotfixes. What you want to do then is we want to go back to the version that we had before. We want to revert. Now, you can do the same exact steps that we just did by going to the website and going to the download page, and then coming down here to previous releases. You can click on this button, and it'll take you to the GitHub where they store all of their releases. And you can scroll through until you find the version that you were using prior. Okay. And when you find the one that you want, there's the 30.2 beast that we don't like, the release candidates. You're going to go through. I mean, you have to scroll for a little while. What I found, I think mine was on page 3, I think. Okay, here's 30.1.2. Right, so this is the last stable version before 30.2 came out. So you're going to scroll down to the bottom of it to where you find assets. And you're going to click on assets, and then you're going to look for your version. So whether you're on Mac, or you're on Linux, or you're on Windows. If you're on Windows, you want to grab this zip folder right here. And it's the same process that we just went through to update. And you're going to unpack it, copy those folders over, and then you'll be done. But you're not going to have all of your stuff that you had before, right? So instead, what we want to do is we want to reverse everything that we did over here. So we're going to come into here. We're going to go to our C drive. We're going to go back to program files, and we're going to find our OBS Studio folder. Now, instead of copying this one, we're going to find the one that we named PF. Remember that? For program files. And we're going to take it. We're going to follow the mouse. We're going to take it and we're going to drag it over here. We want to drag it to the program files. We're going to say continue, and then we're going to put it in there. It should show up right underneath. Now what you want to do is you want to right click, and we want to rename the OBS Studio. And I'm not going to be able to because I'm currently using this, but you're going to rename it something like old. Okay. And then what that's going to do is now you won't have an OBS. So ignore that because it's not going to let me do it. See? But But let's say that you did that. So now you're going to take the PF and you're going to rename that one. And all you're going to do is remove the PF. And then you have your studio back. You can just drag and drop, like delete this folder and drag the new one in. But I find this better because then you have a backup of your backup in case something goes wrong. You still have something functional to go back to, so you can try a different method, right? So then we're going to do the same thing. You're going to go to your C drive. You're going to go to your users folder. You're going to go to your username, and then you're going to find the app data folder. And oh my God, it's not here. Well, here's mine. But what you're going to do is click on View. You're going to come to the very bottom at Show, and then you're going to find the hidden items and make sure that that's checked. Okay, this will show you all the hidden directories. App data is a system directory, so it is hidden by default. So you're going to find it. It'll be kind of grayed out. You see how it's a little like grayed out. That just shows you that it's a hidden file. And then we're going to go into that. We're going to go back into roaming, and the same thing here. You're going to scroll down. You're going to find your OBS Studio, rename this one old, drag your OBS Studio AD into there, and then rename that one as well and take off the AD. And then when you do that, you're going to be all done, all set, back to the version that you had on before. All right. So now that we know who should upgrade and what you need to do to check to make sure you're eligible to have a functional version and upgrade to 30.2.3, who should not upgrade? I mean, we already talked about those that are, you know, if you're on 30.2 anything, you need to upgrade to 0.3 right away. If you're on 30.1.2 and you feel confident, 30.2.3, yeah. If you're on the 30.1, 30.2.3 is a good step up. Has a lot of new features that are really cool. And when everything is actually working, it will work great. Now, they have fixed a lot of bug fixes. If you are still timid, don't worry about it. Don't need to upgrade. It's not worth it to you. Don't do it. Right? We've gone over how to set up OBS on all the other versions before. You have your settings that are working for you now. In the words of a lot of people that have said it before me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? So if it's working for you and you know you're not one of those that has to have the latest and the greatest, then don't worry about it. Keep what's working for you and keep it there until something happens with OBS or Twitch or YouTube where you're like, you know what, I really need that feature. I really need that thing that they've added now. And then you can upgrade. But until then, if you don't want to, don't. You don't need the hassle, don't. If it's working for you, don't. Can I recommend 30.2.3? And the short answer is yes. Is it going to be for everybody? No. But if you were pushing because something wasn't working right, or there was a feature that you needed, the enhanced broadcasting, for example, if you needed that feature, if there was the hybrid MP4, if you really needed that feature, 30.2.3 is the version that you should jump to. Okay. So if that's what you've been waiting on, go ahead. But do it how we just showed you. Make your backups first in case something does still go wrong, because there's no possible way that anybody can test every configuration. And you might have that one graphics card that still hasn't been patched yet, or you may have that one chipset that still causes an issue, or there may be something in your USB bus that's going to cause a problem that, you know, not everybody has. Every computer is a little bit different in some way, right? Whether it's hardware, software, or even the way it's installed or running and operating, that may cause an issue that nobody's seen before. Okay, we have one viewer that reported they had a major memory leak. They had a problem recording, and it would double the frame rate. We still haven't figured out why. And when they went to the OBS tech help, they were told you're the only one with that problem and basically got brushed off, which is kind of fucked up, right? Because they're probably not the only one with that problem. They're probably just the only one that said something. Okay. But going back to a previous version helped them. It fixed that problem. So don't be afraid to try it. And then if it's not working, just go back to the previous version. But just do it safely, do it correctly, like I just showed you how, and you're going to be good to go. All right. So that being all said, I think that's going to bring this long ass tutorial to a close. We've covered everything we need to cover. So should you upgrade to 30.2.3? Yeah, go ahead. Do it. Do it safely though. Make backup. Test it before you go live. Test it with a recording, and then do a live test. Whether you stream on Twitch or YouTube, just make your title, "This is just a test." Plan to go live for like 10 minutes or so and test it out. See how it works for you. See if everything works. You know, test all of your alerts and your commands and your channel points or whatever. And if it's something isn't right, tell your viewers that happen to show up, the test is over. I'm going to close it down and we're going to revert back to what I was using before. And then do that. And then you know, but at least you'll know, right? And you don't really lose anything but a few minutes of your time. What's coming up next on the OBS side of the tutorials, we're going to get into scene collections next. I've promised that one for a while, but then the 30.2 debacle happened and I wasn't planning on having to cover that. At least not as much as we did. So I'm going to get back to that. We're going to cover scene collection and OBS scene and source setup with full organization. And I'm going to show you how I do things and how I recommend that you at least approach them to keep everything simple and organized for yourself. And then we're going to go on and do some more fun stuff with OBS and plugins and LUAs and things like that. So that's it. We're done. I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck if you do upgrade. And please, if this was informative for you at all, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's nice to meet you. If you like what you see and you want to be alerted to when I post new content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. It means everything to me. We are on the push to get to 1,000 subscribers, which would be amazing for me and something I thought I would never be able to get to say, but we're close and we're getting there. So thank you. Every subscription helps. Also, if there was something in this video that specifically helped you, leave a comment below in the comments section down there and let me know what that specific thing was. If there was something you felt that I left out or something that I got wrong, please correct me or let me know something in the comments down there, and we will do our best to correct it in a future video, or even in the comments I can make a pinned comment and make a correction. But yeah, if I left something out, if there was something that you loved or something that you absolutely hated about this video, drop that in the comments too. Every comment helps me get better and bring you more thorough and exacting information in the future. So no comment is a bad comment. That's not a test. There are such things as bad comments, but you know what I mean, okay? But we love you all. Thank you for being here, and I will see you around. Remember, we are going live on YouTube now. Every Saturday, I will be live on YouTube. So check Twitter, check the Discord, and the links for those are in the description below as well. And you'll know when I'm going live. But every Saturday we will be live, so bring your OBS questions, bring your bot questions, bring your streaming questions, and we will answer them live on stream. But until then, everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the show. We love you all, and we'll see you next time. And until then, love, peace, and chicken grease.